Hi, Chinyere. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I've noticed you've been silent. You always come on board, not say anything, and you hop out. Oh,
Actually, always very busy. So most times when I join the class, it's either I'm on transit or I'm still at work. So it's not so really a convenient time for me to start talking. That's why.
mm. Okay. So, I'm watching. I'm actually monitoring everyone, knowing those who are engaging in the class and those who just passerbys in the class as well.
Yes, I know, but I'm not a passerby. I try to listen or probably go back and watch the videos again. It's
So
just
you're free.
basically work.
Okay. So you're free today, right?
Yes, I am.
So I should be expecting a response from you today.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mm. So in this class we have late commas here. Just one, two, three, four. One, two, three, and extra four. Mm. Okay. At exactly 6:05, we'll commence with the agenda for today. Let's give others 2 minutes to repent and join the class. Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing today? Okay. So, Daniel, the attendance form has been dropped. I believe you've indicated you here. It has been dropped in the chat. So, Kafilat, how are you doing? Kafilat.
Good evening. I'm good.
Mm. You've been quiet on during the classes. I hope all is well.
That's because I'm at work most times, or I've just returned from work. I'm always caught up in one thing or the other, so I'm always following.
Okay. Okay, you're one of those silent followers. Okay. So today's class will be more of I would want to hear from those who are always active on busy on Fridays. So you guys will be the one talking on Saturdays. I think that's one thing I'll be doing. So those who are active on Fridays, those who have the opportunity to speak on Fridays will speak, while those who are always caught up in one activity or the other will be given the room to speak more on Saturdays. I think that's what I will be doing now. So I'll have to look at everyone's names and call on those who are not always responding or busy doing Fridays. So we'll hop in into what we have for today. So I've not created a group yet because some persons were still dropping their names up until this afternoon, sending names and all that. So by the end of today's class, I should have all names ready and have the groups ready as well. And today's assignment and what we're going to do would complement what's the one we had yesterday. So we're going to continue from where we stopped. Yesterday we talked about, who can tell me what we talked about yesterday? Let me know how many of us came along with our thinking cap. Just raise your hand and speak. Give a brief understanding of what you got. Yep, Ola doing.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, so yesterday we talked about product thinking, and then you explained to us that we should not really focus on feature, but we should like think productively so that it's not just about chasing the spotlight, but actually solving a problem that we already understand. Then you gave a few case studies like Piggyvest and WhatsApp, like the problems that they identified and the problems that they are, the solutions that they've been able to like provide to their
Okay.
customers. Yeah.
All right, that's good. So Chinyere, what about you? What did we talk? What did we discuss yesterday during yesterday's class? What did you understand from yesterday's lecture? Me look at some. Kafila, you're next after Chinyere. Chinyere, are you here? Okay, Kafilat, what about you? Oh, Chinyere left. So what did you understand from yesterday's class?
Okay. I understand. From yesterday's class, I learned the importance of focusing on the necessary, asking the necessary questions, not just on what people are telling us. Because when you push what you want to people, most likely they will just respond in the manner you are expecting. So we should
Exactly.
focus more on the necessary things. We should be a problem solver, not just the features that we want to attract people, because it is the problem that we are trying to solve that will enable us to remain in market for long and able to beat the competition.
Yeah, that's very good. Nice one. So Chinyere, your hand is up. Are you ready to speak?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Um, so based on yesterday's class, what I did, my feedback or what I did learn is that we should always learn to focus on the problem and not really rush into finding a solution. Because oftentimes when we have customers complain about something, we are not, will I say, we are always in a haste to say, okay, you know what can we do to solve this? Okay, this is what we're going to do and all of that, and not really having an in-depth understanding of the main problem or the cause of the problem. So I think for me, it's just to focus on the problem mostly and understand what the problem really is before rushing into finding a solution. That way we can have a proper overview of the whole incident or whatever happened.
oh, that's good. That's good. Norma, what about you? What was your takeaway from yesterday's class? Norma, can you hear me? Can you hear me? So, if you can hear me, Norma, can you just unmute your mic and speak? What was your takeaway from yesterday's class, it being your first class?
Good evening. Sorry, I was okay. So basically, we spoke about product thinking. That the problem you are trying to solve is more important than the solution that you have to offer. That having a full understanding of the whys, the hows, the who is more important than the solution you are thinking of solving. So basically, that's what we spoke about.
All right. So, everyone, you guys are on point. So, yesterday we talked about product thinking, and which helped us understand the core essence of where we should start from, which is the first place to start from when you are starting off with a product or you're identifying a problem. First, you need to understand the nature of the problem, what's led to that problem, and why is that problem there. So today we will be discussing about how do you structure, what frameworks can you use to help you identify the exact problem. So we'll be talking about ways at which we can and narrow down to the core reasons behind every problem. I will be sharing my slide. Let me share this now. Okay, just a moment. I will share the link to the chat in the chat as well. Let me show it in the chat. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? All right. So today we'll be talking about defining, that is a continuation from product thinking, defining and validating product problems. So once you've done the product thinking, what's the next thing to do? You've gotten the idea, you've identified the problems. How do you define these problems? How do you validate this problem? That's the next stage to move into. Once you've identified your problem, you've been able to think around the whole situation and you've been able to come up with a problem. You've done your product thinking. The next stage is to validate. You define it. This is exactly the problem. You validate it to confirm if that problem actually aligns with the main problem, what you've gotten. So in today's class, we'll be diving more into this and also looking at frameworks which we can make use of to better understand how we can define and validate product problems. So today's objective are one, to understand how to clearly define product problems using structured formats. Two, we're going to also learn how to apply root cause frameworks. Now, what are these frameworks? These are frameworks that help you to identify the root of the issue. It's just like you um, having a problem, and if you don't solve the problem at the root, that problem will definitely surface again. It's just like you having weeds or unwanted plants. You need to take it off from the root. You don't just cut it from the top. When you cut it from the top, you've actually done a good job, a neat job, but the problem still lies there because it all begins from the root. So we'll be looking at some frameworks that would help us get to the root of the problem. And one of those frameworks are the 5 whys, the how might we, and jobs to be done framework. We will be looking at these frameworks today. And also, there will be another objective. We'll be practicing how to write clearly actionable problem statements based on real product issues. So with this, at the end of this class, we should now be able to clearly identify our group problems. A particular product will come up as a group. We decided to talk about as a group. Then we should be able, from using these frameworks, get the root cause of that problem. I mean, that led to the solution. We're going to look at applying the frameworks to get the root cause of the problem which that solution is solving, and also be able to structure out the problem statements and use that problem statement we've structured out to make it a comparison with the problem statement of that product. If they align or they are in line, you know you're doing a good job. At least you being able to identify the problem and know the core cause of the problem, and you knowing who you're solving the problem for and what your proposed solution is going to look like. And you compare it with an existing product which your group has got identified. You look at what you've written out and you compare it with, if they are in line, you know you've done a good work. Now, when you're able to do this correctly, you now go back to your first assignment. You go back to your first assignment, which is the problem which you want to, you identified, individual assignments you were given. Then you will apply these strategies again, what we've learned yesterday and what we are going to learn today, to that, to see if you can change, if there are going to be changes on how you presented the first assignment, the first one we did on Wednesday, how you viewed it. With this knowledge you're going to gain today, added to the one you got yesterday, you should be able to see things differently and restructure what you initially written down as your problem, and I get more clarity on what exactly the problem solution should look like. So a brief explanation of what we'll be talking about today is this: defining the problem, the product problem. Once you've embraced product thinking, the next step is to define the actual problem with clarity. Emphasis on the word, the term there, with clarity. You've identified, you've done your problem thinking, your product thinking, and you've now been able to define the actual problem. You should be able to do this with clarity. Why? Because a well-defined problem statement becomes the North Star for your team. Because once you've been able to define this with clarity, it becomes easier for your team to know exactly what you guys are aiming at. What is your goal? What do you aim to achieve? So if you don't understand the actual problem with clarity, you cannot explain the problem and what you intend to solve to your team. Because like you're not the only one going to work on the solution. You'll be working along with several teams to get the solution done. Now, and this also ensures alignment and focus and effective ideation among the team. So why do we have to define problems? Why does defining problem matters? Now, it matters because it clearly defines the problem A clearly defined problem creates alignment across the team. Now, when the team is aligned, they are moving with a single focus. They know exactly what they want to do, they know what they are supposed to build, and they know who they are building that product for. The team is aligned. And once the team is aligned, it helps what narrow down the noise about what should be on the board and what not should. So clearly defining the problem creates alignment across the team. And this also helps you avoid what or waste future creep. Now, creep is a term used in product management. We have scope creep. We have different kinds of creep. It's more like how do I break this down? Okay, creep is more like you things that could just like it sounds, creep in to delay or cause a delay or cause an hindrance, more like a roadblock. Creep is a roadblock. So once the problem is clearly defined, you can avoid unnecessary waste because you know what to do at all times. And defining the problem also enables the team, you as the product manager and your team, to brainstorm solutions. It becomes easier for you to brainstorm solutions. Now, when you understand the problem, you are able to define the problem. Providing a solution becomes easier. The main the main issue there is you understanding the problem. And most times we don't understand the problem. We think we understand the problem, whereas we don't. Then we just jump into the providing solution, building futures, building all great stuff, and neglecting the principal thing, which is understanding the problem. And when we build all that, we now find out that at the end of the day, the solution doesn't get the engagement which we wanted it to have, and we feel like we've done something wrong or maybe something did not work out well. So that's not the case. The major thing why it turned out negative is because we've not been able to what to clearly identify what the problem is. So another benefit of it is it ensures we build the right product, not just any product. When you are able to define the problem with clarity, you save yourself and you guide yourself through building the right product for the users and not just building a random product. So we'll be looking at the various frameworks. Like I said, we'll be looking at three frameworks: the WISE, the HMW, and JTBD. That is get the job done. So let's look at this first framework, the 5 whys technique. Now, what does this entails? It simply involves you when you encounter the problem or you are told a particular solution, this is what I'm facing, this is the problem, or you identify a problem. Now, the first thing, you don't just jump into um, what was the solution, what would I do to reduce this. Like I said yesterday, I gave an example of a friend who chatted me up on, I think 2 days ago, with regards to some a task which she was working on, trying to identify why Glovo has had 30% decrease in sales. And she was more of what was the next thing I would do? What should I make the app look more user friendly and all that? I think that's the whole thing. Then I told her, no, you don't start with future. You don't start shipping out futures and focusing on futures. Have you truly understood what the problem is? Have you asked yourself why does why is Glovo have experiencing a 30% discount and decrease in sales? Why? Why are they experiencing that problem? What happened? So now, asking why, if you can ask why 5 times, it helps you, it draws you closer to the core root of the problem. Now, let's see, for example, now we also spoke about students dropping off from the an app, a learning app, after 2 weeks of enrollment, and you begin to wonder, it's a problem. A student dropping off after 2 weeks. First, you might a future product manager would just move in. Let's create a new dashboard, a pink dashboard, a board, pink board that makes it this and that, makes the learning experience smooth and all that. Or should we integrate Slack to the class so that they can also have this chatting and all that great features? But a product thinking, a problem thinking, user centric product manager would ask the question, why are students dropping off after 2 weeks? Why are they not dropping off after the first week? Why are they not dropping off after the third week? Why is it always the second week? That's the first thing. Now, for this case, you ask, we have an example here, users abandon sign up. Now, as a problem thinking product manager, you don't just jump onto building a more colorful landing page, sign up page, and all that. No, you ask yourself this question: why? Why are users abandoning the sign up? Why are they dropping off from the sign up? Why are they not completing it? Why are they not going through the sign up page? That's the first question. Why? And you might have an answer like, oh, there are too many steps involved in the sign up and they get so bored of it. And users wouldn't want to go through that, spend much time trying to fill up all the spaces and all the information required. That's why they end up not uh, completing the sign up. And you now ask the next why question. Why is the step so much? Why do we have so many steps on the sign up section? Why? Might now get responses like form is too long, and this we need all those lots of information so that we can clearly understand the users. Maybe the user have to start putting in their address and all that one after the other. Maybe they also need to put in the kind of cars they have or the color of their house and all that informations. Why do we have such? When you are able to provide answer to the second why, you ask again, why are we asking for all details at once? Why can't we keep some? Why can't we just ask the basic ones, then have them once they on board on this the site, they can now do other ones to upgrade. Why should we ask all questions all at the same time from the sign up section? Why are we doing that? That's the third one. Then you now feel like, oh, they might say, oh, we assume we needed it early, so we don't need, the user don't have to start filling the forms later on and all that. Then if you've been able to address that, you now ask again, why do users research? Why do we have to assume we needed it early? Why? Then you hear responses like, oh, no user research on the no user research was done, or the patient level of the users was not done, and all that. Then you keep asking why. Now, when you keep asking why, you start taking note of the key essence. You are now going down to the core problem, to the root of that issue. Now you'll find out that you'll get to a point where it all clicks, and you now tell yourself that this is the actual problem. This is the reason why we are having students abandoning the sign up section. This is the main thing. Now, from the answers you've gotten, you'll be able to look at, we have too many steps on it. So what do we do? The form is too long. What do we do? What are the details on the form that we can take off? Why should we ask everything? We can, instead of we asking all informations, requesting all the informations from the sign up, we can have some just to have the user sign up. Then we'll have the other ones integrated in the app. So in the settings, the users can update their settings and all that. So this helps you asking why, helps you identify the root cause of the problem and not just the surface issue. I don't know, do you guys understand this framework? It's basically not like a copy and paste template. It's just you asking questions to understand, a follow-up question to understand the root of the problem. So having spoken about the first framework, we'll look at the second one, which is how might we? Now, what this framework does is, if you've been able to identify the root of the problem, you can make use of this. Now, this helps you turn the problem into an opportunity for ideation. Okay, now we've been able to identify the core problem. How might we solve this problem? How do we turn this problem to an opportunity? That is what this framework helps you do. It helps you make the problem approachable. Now, you will note that you can't apply how might we solve the problem if you've not clearly understood why the problem was there, what the problem is, and the core reasons why you have users experiencing that problem. This framework won't come into play. So in doing this, you can, from the drop-off example, have how might we reduce drop-off during sign-up? Now, you ask how might we reduce this drop-off during sign-up? Now, the drop-off, you've been able to identify series of reasons why you are experiencing drop-off during sign-up. Now, you now come in. This how might we is now you thinking in terms of providing a solution to the problem. How might we make this happen? How might we make users feel successful during onboarding? Now, there are not accurate number of times you ask this question, but the more you ask the question, the closer you get to the core problem, the core answers. When you keep asking why, you keep going deeper into the core, the root of the problem. When you keep asking how might we, you keep going deeper into understanding the ways you can approach the problem. It helps you understand the opportunities in those problems and possible solutions that can be approached to solve that particular problem. Now, doing this, we move on to the third framework, which is jobs to be done. Now, you've been able to ask why, to understand the root of the problem. You've been able to ask yourself how might you get the work done, to be able to know the possible solutions you can offer to solve that problem. Now you need to now go make use of the framework jobs to be done. Now you've been able to identify the problem and possible solution. You need to also know what job do you need to get done to bring the solution into reality. Now, what does this framework do? It focuses on what job is your product being hired to do. OP, the job to be done by OP was getting instant alert. That was the job. Users actually downloaded the app for to get instant alert. Are they doing that job? Yes. Are they solving that problem? Yes. Were they able to identify the problem? Yes. So this now helps you to know exactly if you're doing the right thing. Let's see, for example, here, when you commute to work, this example now is a user experiencing a problem, when I commute to work, I want to listen to something interesting so I can pass time and feel informed. Most times when we commute to work, some of us listen to music, some listen to some podcast, while some just scroll through news or scroll through TikTok and other things. So what you spend your time on actually, the kind of information you consume actually affect the output you give to the society. Now, looking at this framework, there are some elements there. The situation. What's the situation? When? When I commute to work, that's the situation. What's the motivation behind that? I want to listen to something interesting. That's the motivation. Whenever I commute to work, my motive is I want to listen to something interesting. What the thing interesting could mean several things to several persons. It's not going to be the same thing. To one, it could be listening to music. To another person, could be following up on news. So another person could just be following up on trendings. So it varies across users. Then what is the possible outcome, expected outcome? The expected outcome is so I can pass time and feel informed. Now, if you're able to break these things to this point, you see the clarity with it within these things that you need to be able to understand when you listen to a statement given by users. You should be able to break down these statements into frameworks. So you're able to know that, okay, what's the situation? What's the motive behind this response this user has given to me? What is this user expected outcome? So when you're able to know all this, it will guide you towards getting the real job done. So if you want to build an app or a solution with regards to this, you have stuff like, now a possible solution here could be YouTube Music. YouTube could fit into this solution, into this problem, because now you have the situation when I commute. What do I want? I want to stay listening to something interesting. What does YouTube do? They have various videos, they have music, they have podcasts that keeps you what? Informed while you commute. So while you're commuting, you want to stay informed. And YouTube as well will keep you informed on various things happening in the society, depending on what you want to actually, the information you want to consume. TikTok as well can also keep you on that route. You want to stay informed, you could be listening to someone's podcast on TikTok, or you could be following someone's trend to know the latest news happening. So all these, some it could be Twitter to stay informed. Now the expected outcome is you pass time and feel informed. So if your solution is not making the user feel informed while they are passing time, now passing time makes them feel comfortable and not think about, oh, I'm having a long commute time to work. Now this makes them feel, this pastime makes them feel comfort while they are commuting to work. Some could take hours, and sometimes you just, when you're listening to something very cool, you don't even know that you've gone quite a distance. And when you get to your where you are stopping, you now go, oh, have I gotten here so quick? That's because you were actually enjoying the informations or what you're following up on. So YouTube is a perfect solution to this problem. I believe we all understand. YouTube fits in into this problem. To some, it could just be you downloading your music and just listening to it. And you also stay informed as well. So being informed and means several things to several persons. So it's not always you listening to a class. To some, it could be following up on their lectures and all that. So staying informed, it's the expected outcome. So anything you build in, any solution you build in that doesn't make the users feel informed at the end of the day, that solution, they are not going to value it. They are not going to value that solution. So we have the next one. Now, this is something very, very vital. You will hear terms like right problem statements. What's problem statements? What is they? It's simply just a framework and an easy, I just devised a template to help you structure out the statements, because this statement word is just a brief statement, maybe 1 or 2 sentences. It's what explains the problem. When you read through it, you would be able to understand what the user you're building the thing for, the problem the user is facing, the goal and the reason behind it. Now, if you notice, there is no, I didn't add solution to this template, because if you can understand the user, who are you building the problem, the solution for the problem, the goal behind it, and the reason for it. If you can structure and properly outline this, you should be able to generate the solution clearly. Now, let's look at this example. We have one here. Nigerian small business owners struggle to access quick loan because traditional banks have slow and strict processes. Can someone indicate, just raise your hand and indicate who are the users? In this problem statement you have here, can you identify the users here? Who can identify the user? So wait, I think I need to call. All right, Chineye, we'll go. Chineye,
I think it's small businesses in Nigeria.
small
Small business
business.
owners. Sorry, small business owners.
All right, that's correct. That's correct. Victoria, what's the problem there?
Okay, I wanted to answer the small business, the SMEs, but you said what's the problem? They
Yes.
struggle to access loans. They can't get loans easily from traditional banks like our First Bank and the rest. So they struggle to get loans. It's usually slow. The processes are quite slow and tedious for them to get loan from traditional banks.
You see, you're taking me too far. You got the response and you gave me extra. You gave me extra. I simply said, what's the problem? You told me the problem and you gave me the remaining rundown of it. So which one will I now, which other questions will I now have to give to others now? Yeah? So you need to pinpoint the main thing. So tell me, what's the problem? I just want you to identify from this problem statement, what is the problem? Victoria.
They struggle to get loans from traditional banks.
You're missing it up. No.
Okay.
The problem there is the struggle to access quick loans. That's
Quick
all.
loans. Okay.
That's it. The struggle to access quick loan. That's the problem. Difficulties accessing loan. That's the problem. We've been able to identify the users who are experiencing this problem. Now, it's not just individuals. These are small business owners, like someone who is a roadside person selling drugs, like we call them the chemist, or you have small pharmaceutical store, or you have this provision stores. They are small business owners. Now, the challenge these small business owners in Nigeria, that is the market. Now, they are not talking about global scale. Now you see here, the market is just being focused on the Nigerian market. Nigerian small business owners, they are the users experiencing the problem of what? Accessing what? Quick loan. So are you getting it? Courage.
Yeah.
Can you, all right. Courage, can you identify the goal in that statement? What's the goal? Courage. Courage, can you hear me? So can you identify the goal in that statement? What's the goal? You can actually type, what's the goal? And Vivian, you also look at what's the reason while we wait for Courage to respond on the goal. So Vivian, what's the reason behind in that statement? Vivian, can you hear me? Are we just, can anyone hear me, or am I the one who is not audible?
I can hear you, sir.
All right. So Vivian, you not said anything. You're on the call, but your mic is muted. If you're saying something, I can't hear you. Okay, I think I'll call someone else. Ayomi, can you identify the reason behind in that statement? What's the reason in that statement? You're correct, Courage. That's the goal from the statement, to make sure small business owners can access quick loan. Esther, you're saying what statement? Have you not been on this call?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm on transit.
Okay. I
I
will.
just
All right. So the statement is the first example. Nigerian small business owners struggle to access quick loans because traditional banks have slow and strict processes. So, Ayomi, what's the reason behind this? We've been able to identify the users, which are Nigerian small business owners. We've been able to identify the problems and the fail. So, what's the reason
Okay,
there?
I think the reason is because they don't have strong. I think the Nigerian banks need, the traditional banks need, they need strong backup for their from the users, and I don't think small scale businesses has a strong backup to collect loan from the traditional banks.
No, you're on point, but you're giving me a response outside this. That's not the reason. The reason is just there. You see, you need to always read between lines. You definitely get the answers there. The reason, Vivian, you sent something, said they have slow and strict processes. That's the reason. Because traditional banks have slow and strict processes. That's the reason why small business owners in Nigeria are experiencing this problem. That's the what difficulties in accessing quick loans. I don't know, do you guys get the breakdown of it? Okay. All right, noted. So for those of us who are on transit, if you can't speak, you can always use the chat box to text and respond. So we know everyone is engaged in the whole activity. So you also partake in it. So now let's look at example 2. Since we've been able to identify this in example 1 using this template. So for you to, if you are asked to prepare a problem statement, you should make use of this template. First, start with the users, then struggles with what's the problem when trying to the goal which the users want to actually achieve. What's their goal? Then what's the reason that is stopping them from achieving their goal? That's just what problem statement is all about. Now, I can tell you that all solutions we've been, all products we have today, actually, you can fix them into this problem statement template here. Now, let's look at another example. University students struggle to manage their class schedules because existing apps are too complex and not built for them. So this time I'm going to call on, yeah, Deborah. What's the users there? Can you identify the users from that?
University students.
That's the user. Very easy for you to identify. University students. Now, in some cases, you might not have it as struggle. There might be another are faced with a particular, okay, it could be structured in a way it's not feel that it must be struggle with. You could just tweak the English saying, okay, Nigerian small businesses owners are faced with the problem of accessing quick loans because so and they. So it doesn't really, but the key point should be there that on that statement, you should be able to identify the users, you should be able to identify the problem, the goal, and the reason. These 4 points should be identifiable on your statements. And the problem statements are always very brief. It's not quite a lengthy lines of text and all that. A 1 sentence or 2 sentence, it's okay. So if you're able to write down the problem in 1 sentence before you can get that done, that means you've fully understood the problem. You've understood the users you're building this problem for, the solution for, the problem they are facing, the goal and the reason. So your ability to take that bulky information and put it into 1 sentence makes it easy for you to understand clearly what you're doing. Chidima, can you identify the problem here the university students are facing?
Okay, good evening, everybody. The problem they are facing with is the inability to manage their class schedules. That's the problem they are facing. I think attending classes and knowing when the classes are being held, that is the problem they're experiencing.
That's very correct. So the problem there is the struggle to manage their class schedules. So that problem could be as a result of several things. Several things could result to they having that difficulties managing their class schedules. Could be as a result of tight or bulky class schedule, or we could have a very robust back-to-back lectures and all that, making it difficult for the students to actually access or manage the classes, and also causing them to struggle with their performance in classes. Daniel, What's the goal in that problem statement? The goal.
Sorry, I'm in a noisy place. To create apps that can make it easier for them to manage their schedules.
All right, all right, all right. So now the goal there is to what? You said
To
to
create
create apps.
apps. To create apps
Okay,
that can make it easy
okay,
for them to user friendly and easy for them to manage their schedules.
that's good. That's true. That's true. So the goal now is to help these students, help the students schedule their activities. Now it could be in form of apps since we have here, since they made mention of existing apps. So we need to create an app that would help the students schedule their activities so that they will also help them reduce the struggle which they are having during classes. One other person, let me see. Normal, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Normal, what's the reason behind this problem? Can you identify the reason behind it?
Okay. I think the reason behind this was existing apps were too complex and not built was not student friendly.
That's very correct. So we can see if we are able to break this down to identify the users, the problem, the goal, and the reason. That is what problem statement is all about. It's just a very short statement, one sentence that outlines these users, the problem which the users are facing, the goal which we aim to achieve, and the reason. The goal in the second example is to get to help students properly schedule their classes. We create an app, since they mentioned an app, create an app that will help students schedule their classes so they don't have to struggle in managing their classes. Now, the reason behind that is existing apps are too complex and not built for students. Now, there's already an existing solution, but the problem with those existing solutions is they were not built with users such as the students in mind. They might be built for, that solution might be convenient for workers, but it doesn't, for workers having tons of activities to schedules and all that, having some kind of big languages and all that. But it wasn't built with users, student users as well. It wasn't built with the students in mind. So you find out that a solution that fits in for a particular group of users might not fit in for another sectors of users. This solution that seems like a problem, that's a problem to user students, is actually might actually be a proper solution to working class individuals. They might be using this solution very well and not have experienced this issue. But because the problem was not built, the solution was not built with students in mind. That is why every solution, the structure of it, the features of the solution will be structured in a way that would make the workflow, the scheduling, and the management of tasks for working class individuals very seamless. So we see when you are building a solution, we build solution around our target users. What is this? Does this target user look like? What do they look like? How do we build this solution to fit into these users, to solve this users' problem? They are all, now all markets does not solve everyone's problem. That's one thing you should know. All product does not solve everyone's problem. So it now depends on you having a noisy market, a noisy audience, noisy users. Then you look at this problem. That is where your research starts coming into play. You start asking yourself questions to break down in the midst of the crowd, identify the users that are experiencing that particular problem. You look at their sizes, you know, these are the users experiencing this problem. Then you look at the problem which those users are facing, the goal behind the problem which you aim to achieve. What is your goal? To build an app that would help students schedule their classes, manage their class schedules, so they don't have to experience that difficulties. That is your goal. So when you pitch this to your designers, you pitch this to your engineers, they know exactly what the goal is and the reason why you are aiming at achieving that goal. So at the end of your development, at the end of it, or when you built the solution and you want to launch, you now look at this solution I have built. Does it align with the initial goal for the development? That is why a written problem statement is very useful, because when you build that solution, you have to reiterate back, does the goal at which I started this solution, building this solution, what I have now, does it align with that goal? The app I've been able to build, does it does it enable students schedule their classes effectively without any struggle? If the answer is yes, you know you've built the correct thing, then you can now launch. And once you launch, you find out that students will start engaging in that thing because they will start seeing the value in it. They will have this sense of ownership that this solution was built for them, because it becomes easier for them to streamline, to make use of that, navigate around the solution. Are we all getting it? So when you writing a problem statement, you need to focus on certain things. One, focus on one clear problem. Like someone asked me a question yesterday that, okay, using OP as a case study, OP provides several solutions and all that, this, and SafeBox and this and that. All that are problems which OP has solved. But what was the key problem which OP had targeted, the goal behind OP? So I want someone to quickly make a problem statement using OP case study. Who can do that? Using this template, the users, the problem, the goal, and the reason. Can someone try that? Can someone try that? Okay, Esther.
Okay, let me give it a try, sir. Okay, so I think Nigerian small business owners struggles with getting payments or instant transfer when trying to receive payment from customers because of delay in receiving payments. I don't know if it makes sense.
Okay, you're trying. You tried. Let's see who else has something else to add to that. But one thing there is one issue there is this. OP wasn't just built for businesses, so you also need to take that into consideration. That's a good try. At least you're getting a rough sketch of what the problem statement would look like. So who else wants to give it another try?
Okay, can I try?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so um small scale businesses and petty traders find it difficult to receive alerts on the spot,
Okay.
and they also find it difficult to open accounts with the traditional banks. And that is where OPay came in with just
Okay.
your phone number. You don't need to start cramming a bunch of numbers. Once you know your phone number, you have your OPay account. So by just calling your phone number, you don't need to start going looking for where you wrote the phone number, where you wrote the account details. So by with just your phone number, removing the first number, you can easily call out your account details to your customer. And they made it so that immediately you transfer money, you are able to receive it immediately to avoid customers waiting and hanging around because you've not seen your alert. So I think that's
Okay. Okay. Kafilat, yeah, you can try. That's good. That's good. Kafilat, you raised your hand. Yeah.
Okay. Many Nigerians struggle with making instant payment on the go due to the complexity in making transfer and slow processes involved.
Okay. Yes. Yes, exactly. Now, in terms of the users, Kapila, you just mentioned the users correctly. Nigerians, many Nigerians. Yeah, the users there are Nigerians, not just small scale businesses, because we have individuals, we even have children who make use of OPay. So the user for the OPay, it's the Nigerians, individuals, Nigerians are the users. So now, struggle. Chidma, do you work with OPay? Let me ask that question. Because you brought
No,
my
I don't.
attention to something which I skipped. That's another key reason why OPay came into the market. Yes. So the two core reasons why OPay came into the market were this: instant alerts and easy account creation. Yes. So struggle with Nigerians, many Nigerians struggle with what? Okay, Adeboye Joy, you want to say something? Yeah, you can go ahead. Your hand, Adeboye, you can speak. All right, speak.
I think easy loan should be added too, because I think they have the easiest loan application. I don't know, hearing from people, I think they give out loan easily to people too. I think that one is part of the reason.
Okay. Yeah, that's also the reason why OP came into existence. But here now, right now, we're talking about the primary reason. Now we want to focus on one clear problem. One clear problem here is this. Okay, Kafilat. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just want to talk further on this. The
Okay.
major problem I think I identified that are trying to solve here is make it easy for anybody, even in major markets now, even when you're buying from Hausa men or from all these tomato sellers, you can buy things from them, and on the spots where you made when you buy something, you can make payment and they receive their last on the dot. So I believe we are talking about loans. Not everybody is into business, as in not everybody's are big business owners like that, but at least everybody, even without carrying cash, you can easily buy something and pay on the dot when you make payment, and the business owner will receive their alerts. To me, I feel that might be the main thing they are trying to tackle.
Exactly. And that has been the primary focus of OPay coming into the market. That's one thing. Now, the loan box, which they have easy access to loan and all that, all those are secondary reasons, secondary solutions, which they've also identified. Now, before they come into the market, they identified several problems. We'll identify that users don't get instant alerts. We'll identify that the opening a bank account is difficult and it takes a lot of time and stress. We'll also identify that users are not actually don't have easy access to loans. They also identify that users are having difficulties saving their money. So, and so on and so forth. So all these problems, OP has identified everything. Now, after identifying all these problems, they now do what? Define the problem, they've defined it. Now they now have to do what? Prioritize this problem. That is where the topic for today, validate the problem. After defining it, they validate the problem. Now, after validating the problem, they now have to prioritize the problem. Prioritizing the problem, they now look at the MVP. What is the core problem which we need to tackle? That is where your problem statement comes with focus on one clear problem. So when OP came into the market, they identified all these problems. But when they came into the market, they came into the market with one core problem, which is what? Instant alert on the spot. Instant alert on the spot. So when they launched, people were they were gaining that attraction. Yes, do you know how to use OP? Solving that as well, in order for them to also get users to make use of the app, they also need to do what? Now you see that solving this problem, solving the instant alert problem, you can't solve it without having an account. So you're getting the twist now. In OP's situation, making account creation easy and getting instant alert when you make any transaction, those solutions were intertwined. I don't know if you guys are getting my point. So for you to make use of the app, in order for you to make instant transfer and make payments on the spot, and the merchant or the vendor gets the payment immediately. So you go to where you are going to get your goods and you leave. So for them to do that, they also had to do what? Ship in two products at the same time, two solutions. Make the onboarding section, creating accounts easy for users so that they can easily make payments and the merchant or the vendor can receive the payment instantly. So a problem statement can involve you depending on the nature of the problem. If the problem is dependent on a particular factor, then you know that you need to tackle those problems simultaneously. Now, if OP had just come out to the market saying they want to make creating an account easy, yes, they will create an account easy. And what if they made creating an account easy and you still make payments with the OP and you still having that long time reflection of alerts to users, between users and merchants? They've not solved the problem. Making an account creation easy is a problem. So are you getting me? So, but the MVP, the key purpose why they decided to come into the fintech market was they identified the key problem was the dispute between customers and vendors when transactions are made. I buy this thing from you, I make a transfer, it takes hours before you get the alert, and you delay me, you stage me at your store, keeping me there over a long period of time because you've not gotten the alert, whereas I've been debited, but your bank or there's been a delay in you receiving the alert. So that was the main problem. So they now looked at because users cannot just be sending money through thin air. There have to be a place where we have to bring these users. Then we create a platform, which is a solution called OP. And it started from ORIDE and all these things. So you see that a particular solution you start with, it's okay started with ORIDE. And if you note, ORIDE is not even in existence now, sir. They've gone extinct. But the product owners, from creating ORIDE, they now got the idea and difficulties. I believe what inspired that situation was when riders book a ride on the ORIDE platform and they make transfer. It was difficult for the drivers to get the alert instantly, and they have to stage the riders and the users until they get the transfer, and that poses a problem which the drivers had to now report to the company that this is what we are getting now. So the drivers most times prefer cash. And for me not having cash, and I have some amount in my account to pay, to make transfer, and I've shown you my receipt, but you can't let me go because you've not gotten it due to fake transfer scam. So that issue, that feedback being gotten by the drivers every now and then made Opay, the product owners of ORIDE, look at this. This is a problem. How do we tackle this problem? How do we help our drivers get instant alert? When the riders make the payment, the drivers receives it immediately, so that the riders can go on with their day and our drivers can move on to the next ride. It was through this problem that they now came up with the idea of Opay. What if we have a payment product, a solution that can help the users and the driver transfer money from one person to the other, and they receive the money, confirm it immediately at the spot? That was how Opay ideology came into existence. And how can we do this? Do we also need to create an account? So in creating this account, we don't need to do it like they understood that in creating a normal traditional banking system, it's quite expensive, and they were almost running bankrupt on ORIDE. They looked at, what if we have the bank, we bring the banking system on board online over the internet, making it very easy for our users to create an account with their phone number. They look at the number, the market analysis, they look at users analysis. How many users make use of their devices? They look at the number. Almost all users, if we have 200 million users, Nigerians, we have almost 199 Nigerians, because it's very rare for you now to find someone who doesn't have a cell phone number. So regardless of you making use of button phone or you're using a smartphone, if you notice now, Opay has now done a new feature whereby they will receive SMS alert. They just rolled up that feature. Now, why did they have to do that? They got feedback from users that most times we don't get alerts when, even though our data is on, we don't receive those online alerts. And when I receive payment, I have to log into my app to see that the money has actually arrived. So they looked at, okay, we can ship out another solution, which is instant SMS alert to users. So you see that it's always from one problem. You start from one problem, that problem generates another problem. You start expanding, you start bringing up ideas. Once you encounter another problem, you look towards solving that problem. First, before you solve a problem, you ask why. What is the motive behind this problem? Why am I experiencing this problem? Then you focus on one clear problem to tackle. Then once that problem is solved, you move on to the next problem. And in doing this as well, another technique you need to take note of is avoid inserting solutions in your problem statements. Can anyone identify the solution in these two examples? Who can tell me what is the solution here? In these two examples, just indicate, raise your hand, indicate so you can tell me Read through the two examples. Who can tell me what the solution there is? Anyone? I hope you guys can hear me. So what's the solution? Who can tell me what's the solution in the first example and second example? Seems I will call name. Okay, Kapilat, you can go ahead.
Okay, from the problem statement in the first example, what I can see there is a access quick loans. And the second one is manage their class schedule.
Access quick loan, manage their class schedule. Okay. Who else wants to try? Deborah, what's the solution here in those two statements? Deborah, your hand, you can speak.
So I feel the solution for the first statement is having a fintech that works with probably with the main traditional banks to make accessing loan quicker, which I feel we now have nowadays, like that of the Okash and the Fair Money and the likes, where you get to get to access quick loan without lot of collaterals and the likes.
Okay. Lola, what's the solution in these two problem statements? Which one can you identify there?
You can identify that small business owners should have access to quick loans as solution for one. Then for two, student-friendly app for them to be able to manage their class schedule very well and not struggle.
Okay. Adeboyejo, what about you? Can you identify the solutions here?
Can I try?
All right. Can go ahead. Adeboyejo, hold on, you can speak. Adeboyejo.
Okay, I think for the first problem, I think access to quick loan and access to quick and easy loan is the solution. While for the second, I think maybe an app to manage their classes and schedules. To manage each class schedule should be the solution.
Okay. What about you, Chidima?
Okay, for number one, I would say yes, access to quick loans that have low interest rates because of the strict processes when it comes to traditional banking and little to no collateral. While for example two, I would say very simplified apps that are user friendly, and I believe when it comes to students, they also look for ways to save data. So apps that does not consume a lot of data and are very easy to use.
All right, that's cool. Daniel, yeah. What about you? Can you identify the solution in those two examples, those two problem statements?
Okay, first off, I want to identify that these problem statements themselves did not mention their solutions. We are the ones who are just inferring them, or we are deducing them. But what we have in the problem statement, just as it says, it's a problem statement. It does not state the solution, but we can just infer them.
Exactly. That's the correct answer. So I was wondering where you guys were getting your own solution from these statements here. So I was just saying, okay, and you were all just shipping out access to quick loan very proudly. You were just telling me access to quick loan boldly. The their class create an app. When I said here, tips about writing a problem statement, avoid inserting solution in your problem statement, which is clear. One thing I noticed what you guys were mixing up, you were mixing up the goals for the problem with the solution. The goals is just like a summary, just giving you insight of what the solution should do. But that's not the solution. That's not the solution. You're mixing up the goal. What do I want to achieve? It's just like you saying, I want to move from A to B. I'm currently in Lagos now. My goal is to be in Abuja tomorrow. That's the goal, to be in Abuja tomorrow. The solution now is, how do I get to Abuja? Do I go by flight? Do I go by land? Do I go by sea? Or do I go by train? Whatsoever means is the solution that will take me from here, Lagos, to Abuja. So the goal is not the solution. The goal helps you checkmate your solution if it aligns. So for this problem statement, there is no solution here, but rather we have a goal, which is, since we identified that the first example, Nigerian business owners, they struggle with what? Accessing quick loans. That's the problem. They are struggling with accessing quick loans. And our goal here is to help business owners, small business owners, access quick loan. That is the goal. To access quick loan is the goal. Access quick loan is the goal. So what solution are we going to build that would help them access quick loan? OPay is an example. OPay, now in OPay, you can easily access loan just from the snap of your finger. Easily. They don't need you bringing all this, your collaterals and all that. That is a solution. But the goal there was to enable individuals access quick loans. That's just the goal. Access quick loan is the goal. So how they came about accessing the quick loan, we have solutions like OPay, we have solutions like Okash, we have solutions like, I don't know if Kuda as well, solutions like PalmPay. All those things are solutions. How you tend to solve that problem, how you tend to achieve that goal is not the same thing as the solution. So let's not mix things up next time. Let's not mix up the goal with the solution. When you're writing a problem statement, you do not insert the solution to it. What it should be very short, because when you are bringing in the solution, it becomes bulky. When your problem statement goes beyond 1 or 2 sentences, then that means you've not fully understood what you want to, the problem which you are actually addressing. I don't know if we are getting what I'm saying. So for clarity's sake, when you identify a problem or you're writing a problem statement, try as much as possible not to insert or attach the solution to it. The key points here should be, your problem statement should identify the users. Who are you building the solution for? Who are experiencing this problem? The users. It's called a problem statement, not a solution statement. So anything that should be here should be directed to the problem. What users are experiencing this problem? That's the thing. What is the problem these users are experiencing? What is the goal? What is the goal here? And what is the reason why these users are experiencing this problem? Because if you know the problem, you should understand, you should also know the reason behind it. If you can get the reason, this reason as well can also be the motive behind the problem. So there's always a motive, always a reason behind every problem. So that's one thing about the problem statement framework. And here now we have our activity, a continuation of what we are supposed to do. So Like we said yesterday, I would be grouping everyone into team, so we'll be working effectively to work on this project, this assignment from yesterday to today. So by the end of today's class, whatsoever names I have in the WhatsApp group chat, those are the names I would work with. Anyone whose name is not there, I don't know what you want me to do. So I gave a grace from yesterday to today. So you guys drop your name. So before the end of today, I will prepare the chat so you can identify yourself and reach out to each other so you can start working on the group activity. By Wednesday, all sheet before Wednesday, the document should be sent to the group. Now the document should have the names of each student in that group, the problem, the already existing products you are actually looking into, the already existing products, the problem, the core problem that product is actually came out to tackle, the core problem it's actually solving. Then at the end of it all, you should be able to, after your research with the team and you guys have communicated, you guys should be able to apply the 5 why techniques. Now, what we did today would help you understand how to get the solutions for yesterday's activity. So using the 5 whys framework, this would help you identify the core problem which that solution is actually solving, the core problem which that solution started off with. And with the HMW framework or just to be done framework will help you understand how and what job they had to get done. That what is the job that the product they are building is actually doing for the users. And finally, where it all comes in, when you've been able to identify all this, when you've been able to identify all these things from yesterday to today, you now put your answer in a problem statement. You put everything in a problem statement. So one thing there is this. You should be your problem statement. This is where the end result is for the group work, the problem statement. You should be able to identify because that's a summary of all the activities you've done from yesterday to stage 2 for today. The problem statement gives a summary of it, the users, the problem, the goal, and the reason or motive behind the problem. So once you have that done, once you have the problem statements of that done, we are going to your group. Once you have the group, I will just pick one person. It's not something that you guys would hand over the task to one person to go and do. No, I could just call up on anyone and say, okay, you present what you guys have worked on. So this would help everyone stay equally involved in this activity we're doing. So I could call upon anyone to explain what you guys, the problem statements you guys have written, and also ask you questions on how did you identify your users? How did you identify the problem? How did you, what was the goal? What was the reason? What was the motive behind why this company is existing? So all these are what we're going to discuss about in next week's class on Wednesday. So before Wednesday, latest, before Wednesday's class, all assignments should be submitted to the group. All assignments should be dropped in the group. So everyone should have their documents and their screen ready for, because I could call upon anyone to present that day. And there's no exemption. So I could call upon anyone to present that day. So just get yourself ready. If you know that your you're going to be on transit, just type your response. You type it down. So you know that once I just call upon you that this, you tell me you're on transit, and you just send it your response to the inbox so I can read it. So there's no excuse to I'm on transit, I can't type or I can't say anything. Type your response before the class. So once I call upon you, there is no excuse like I'm on transit. Just drop your response in the chat box. I will read through it. I hope everyone understands what I've just said. So with that being said, does anyone have any question? Chidima, what happened? Why is your mouth so wide open? Is something wrong?
Francis,
Yes, can you hear me?
I was going to ask, in the case of your friend who was given the task of
Okay, Victoria.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I said, in the case of your friend who was working with Glovo, and you said the solution should not be about bringing up new features. So should identify first off why the sales were dropping. So what was the solution you were now able to come up with? How was she able to identify the problem? Did she go and ask the users? If that was the case, how would she have been able to ask the users? Like, what was the practical solution she actually came up with? Or if she didn't come up with it, what would you have done? Or what would you have recommended that we do if we were in such a situation?
Okay, that's a good question. Now, in tackling that, you now have to go into research. Now, you either do cold approach, which is you meeting users one-on-one, trying to understand what their pain points are. So it's either you do that or you have to do thorough research. Every information you need, it's online. Every information you need is online. You can even get information from when a particular product was launched. So for you to get to that level, you have to keep going deep. You could also look at their products, like say app stores and all that. You could make use of different research tools. You could make use of X. You could make use of Play stores, where you look at what they are saying on their stores. You could also go through the product solution, their pages, to see. So for my friend that had to go through that issue, identifying why Glovo had a 30% reduction in sales, the first thing I told her was to understand why are they having that issue. That's the same thing I taught you guys within yesterday to today. Why? And knowing how, understanding why they are having such issue, it involves you thinking like the product. What happened? And for you to understand what happened, you have to look through the app. What's the issue here? You make research, you go through the feedbacks, look at what users are saying. What's their problem? When did they start having this thing? You make analysis. You do all these things, all this research to gather up insights of what the actual problem looks like. So it's not something you can just sleep and wake up one day and you feel you've gotten it. No, you need to sit on it. You need to think about it. It takes time to gather up research. That's why I didn't write the assignments yesterday. So you can use the whole weekend before Wednesday to think. So if you use today, tomorrow to bring up a particular product, you guys will start making research on it from various angles. Maybe you decide to meet on Monday, you come around, you speak, okay, this is the product we will be working on, this is what we'll be doing. What's your question? You ask. You guys brainstorm ideas together. following this strategy, the same thing I told my friend was this same strategy. You understand why. When you understand why that product is having that issue, the problem, you understand the goal behind why that problem was being solved. So how you get to get the feedback from users differs. You can either send form, but now let me now shock you now. If you're using an existing product now, you want to understand why. Some persons now would not even understand why OPay even came into existence. Now, if you want to build a new solution, you would understand the problem. You will not start with the solution. You will not start pitching out the solution. Now, the major thing here is this problem, this solution is already in existence. So it is now your duty to go and do research, learn how to do research, how to ask the right questions. I'm not going to give you guys prompt hints. So you just have to identify that yourself. I hope I answered your question, Daniel.
Yes.
All right. So Victoria, your hand is up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Francis. So my
Well,
question is a little bit similar to Francis' question, but there's just a slight difference. Yes, you said that we should
Francis
understand
question.
why. You said we should understand why a problem is occurring. I want to know, for instance, if I'm a product manager now, is there a way I can tell that users are dropping off at the sign up page or maybe the login page or something? Is there like a tool in the management, like a tool they use in-house in tracking the activity, just to first know the problem before
yes.
you get to know why that problem is, before you get to brainstorm and ask why the problem is occurring? I don't know if you
Yes,
understand my question.
yes, I do. And yes, there are
Okay.
several tools that can help you identify that. We have tools like Google Analytics that takes
Okay.
analysis of it. You have Statista. We have several analytic tools whereby you go through, you see the chart. If you understand the chart, and there's always a sales to growth to decline curve, you look at the chart. If this thing, at what stage did this curve start declining? You will know that, okay, at this day, at this point, become more specific. This curve, instead of it continuously growing, it's now decreasing. Here you now look at what led to this decrease. So yes, there are several tools you can use to analyze this. You have several tools. Okay.
Okay, sir. So if I get you correctly, sir, so those tools can actually tell the analytics of an existing product, which is not theirs. Like they can tell the activities, the analytics of an existing product.
Yes.
Is that okay, sir? Thank you.
Welcome. Who else has a question? Who else has a question? Vivian. Okay, no, we've not been shared in group. I will do that tonight. Okay. Do you have a question, Vivian? All right. So who has any question, let's say based on what we've discussed or previous issues, while we still have 15 minutes, we could just interact, or areas where you need clarity or something regarding this. Stop sharing. All right, Adeboye.
My question is not about this actually. My question is about WhatsApp. I don't know if it's me. There's these features that is not on WhatsApp that I don't know. Maybe I'm an Android user. Maybe it's for me. that
Okay.
you can't save status or video from a status on
You
WhatsApp.
can.
I don't know, maybe you can't save status when you're checking someone's status on
Mm,
WhatsApp. You
mm,
can't save it. When you are checking a video on someone's status, you can't save it. There
okay.
is this time that there is this cheat WhatsApp, the WhatsApp GB
FM,
was
WhatsApp, and
certainly,
all that.
yeah, they have those features. Then
Okay.
later WhatsApp closed it down. I was expecting them to put the features, so they did not put the features.
Okay.
I don't know if it's only applied to Android. I don't know about iPhone, but I think that's one thing I think they are lacking behind in WhatsApp.
Okay. Chidima, speak.
Okay, so my question is pertaining to our topic, our class for today. Now, you
Mhm.
said you identify the reason, you identify the goal, you identify the problem, and and think of solutions. Now, then we come to, like, you see OPay, Kuda, Money Point, Okash, all these
Chima, if you're saying anything, I can't hear you. Can you hear me, Chidima? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I can't hear what you said. I think the last thing I
Can you
heard
hear?
was yes, I can hear you now. The last thing I heard was Kuda, Okash, and all that.
Okay. Said now this teacher,
Mm.
like as a product designer or as a product manager, what can one do to like these products now? What do you think are above the other? Because thing they are doing. So how can one should I say be ahead of the others? Because I feel they are basically doing the same.
Okay. Your line is breaking, but based on what I heard, can you
Mm.
hear me? Just confirm if what I'm going to say now aligns with what you just said. Can you hear me, Chidima?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What you asked is how do this OPay, PamPay, Kuda, and all that, they are all doing the same thing. How does one stay ahead of the other, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Noted.
Because they're
So
basically doing the same thing.
So what?
I don't see any edge each one has against the other, but they are both succeeding in the market. And I thought the aim of a product is to be the number one go-to, but there are a plethora of them all. So I don't know. So I don't
Uh,
know if they are trying to achieve
okay. The thing is, the aim of a product is not to be the number one. That's one. The aim of a product is to solve users' problem. And why it seems like OPay, they are all doing the same thing, it's because when it all started with OPay and Kuda, when they came into the market, they came with the instant alerts. And one thing about competition is if you don't update your game, you will lose your users to the other to your competitors. That's one thing. That's why it seems like they are all almost doing the same thing. Now, if you look closely, before now, I think OPay does not do, is it pay electricity bill or school fees or something of such? Yeah, I think one of them doesn't do payments of school fees, RRR, remitter, and all that. But they found out that they had users in order to stay relevant. So now what they are doing is this. They are making it difficult for their users to want to switch to another competitor, to another brand. Since you look at what this brand is giving to me and what I want to go and get from this other brand is the same. All those things you see there are just retention principles, style of retaining your users, because if you don't have the same thing your competitors are having on their platform, you might lose your users to your competitors just for one feature. And it's not just the same just for OP and all that. It's the same for all in the competitive market. Even your local market stores that we have around, you can go to, let me say Ladipo, for example, and you have almost everyone in Ladipo selling the same thing. Now they are all fighting for the same number of users, whereas they are solving the same problem. But it now boils down to their customer relationship, their customer experience. How well do they, what's their service like? Well, I can tell you one thing, one key difference. Now you might look like they are all doing the same thing. Yes, but there's one key difference which I myself have identified. Now it involves one key difference from I use Kuda. I started off with Kuda, and I noticed that I couldn't get my card at a spot. I paid for it, I got deducted for it, but my card, even up to today, I've not gotten the card. But on my app, it showed delivered. I had to go to Kuda office to make complaints. I had to look for their office here in Lagos. I left Owerri to Lagos to make sure that I make that complaint. And when I got there, they said, we have it sent, it has been sent. We have it sent to Ozone and all that, other branch in Ozone. I had to go to another branch in Ozone just for what? My card. But still, I didn't get the card. So I went through that stress and I got tired. Though I enjoyed the instant alert and all that from Kuda, then I had to try OP. And OP, when I did that, I got my card that in a week later. So when I tracked it on my app, I saw it's ready, it has been disbursed, ready for pickup. When it got to my location, I got it. That was just that one act made me say, I'm going to be using OP. And recently, I tried going back to Kuda. So when I had to transfer money from one of my accounts to my Kuda account, I got deducted for it. I was like, oh, maybe it's the normal 15 naira charges and all that. Then I did, I had to try something else, transferring 1,000 naira to another account, my OP account, and I got deducted again, 15 naira, and I was like, damn. So does it mean in Kuda, any amount, anything above 1,000 that I'm transferring to another account, I have to pay a charge of 15 naira? That was hell. But for OP, it's quite, I don't need to do that. But I noticed one thing in Kuda that was not in OP, the free free transfer charges. For Kuda, it's 23 or 24 in a month. For OP, it's just 3 times free transfer in a month. So all those features made me look at, no, I can't be making use of Kuda, because when I make any transfer, they have to charge me 15 naira, and I don't want that. Whereas in OP, I only get charged 15 naira when I'm sending any amount above 10,000 naira. So that made me abandon my Kuda, then just focus on OP. So you feel like they are all doing the same thing, but they have some little differences among each other. Most times it always boils down to the customer experience, that is the user's experience. So for so many persons, it could mean several things to several users. So several users could feel like, I'm okay with the Kuda charges, charging me, taking 15 naira out of my account. And some other users will look like, oh, the benefit of me having 24 free transfers per month, I'm okay with that feature. But for OP, it's just 3. I can stay, I'm comfortable with the 3. Whereas I don't want you minusing 15 naira from any transaction I make all the time, any transaction above 10,000 naira. So I don't know if you get my point. They might seem like they are doing the same thing, but they have some little differences that makes them stand out from each other. So the aim of a product is not to just build a product that will become number one. It's to build a product that solves the problem of the users. Is that clear? All right. So Adeboye has gone, left the class. The WhatsApp, oh, the WhatsApp feature which she talked about, I think she's here. I'm going to address that. So does anyone have any other question? Any question in regards to what we've done today, or what, just a random question, understanding some concepts? Okay, the 5 whys. So now when you're talking about the 5 why framework, what that simply means is you continuously asking why to understand the root of that problem, the core essence of the problem. What is that problem all about? You identify the problem. Why is this problem? You just, for you to understand the particular thing, you need to continuously ask why. And when you continuously ask why, research have it that when you ask why on a particular thing 5 times, on a particular problem 5 times, it helps you understand the core problem of it. You might not necessarily get to 5, but then you get the clarity of what that problem is all about and the core essence of it, why that problem is in existence. You get that, you move on to the next phase. It's not it's just a framework that would help you narrow down your okay, submit all assignments to the group before Wednesday class. Yep. Okay, that would help you narrow down to get the core problem. That's why we make it of the 5 whys framework, to get the core problems behind every product. Is that clear? All right, so that helps you when you have this product, you have this product. Why is this product in existence? You identify that. What is this product actually solving? Why do we have this problem? Why is this goal? So when you do that, it helps you shed off every noise to get the main problem. Okay. So do anyone have any other question? So I'm going to upload the assignment on the portal for those of us who are not in this call right now, and also drop that in the, I will drop that on the portal so you all can review that. So we can, and also group everyone based on the names I have in the group chat. So I'll be working with the names I have in the group chat. So if you, once I drop the document, you all should just go through it, identify and reach out to your colleagues as well, so you can know who are your team and work effectively towards achieving your class activity before Wednesday. So by Wednesday, latest Wednesday morning before the class on Wednesday, all reports, problem statements reports should be dropped in the WhatsApp group. I will go through it before the class and call upon anyone to present that. So if there are no any further question from anyone, it's already 8. So I want you all to have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful weekend and stay blessed. Bye.